Welcome back to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I, of course, am your host, KC Phoenix. And yeah, so I'm doing the Quick 3 Tarot, but using Oracle cards instead for Monday, September the 12th. Before I go any further, KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Okay, so I did a tarot reading for the collective yesterday. And by the way, I hope everyone enjoyed their weekend too. We're in Mercury retrograde right now. And I'm sure some of you may be going through it, which, like, for me, I've started getting random headaches. So, which I'm literally dealing with one right now. That's why I'm kind of like, but whatever. But one thing about this Mercury retrograde is happening during Virgo season, and then it'll transition into Libra season. Virgos can be very critical, is what they can be. You know, very nurturing sign, but also they're very critical. They're very analytical too. Some say that they're the most intelligent sign of the zodiac and stuff. That's what some of the astrologers say. I say it's Gemini, but you know, it's all subjective, I guess. You may be very critical of yourself, or you may find people around you being very critical of you right now. The reason I'm bringing this up is because in this particular deck, I'm using my Gods and Titans deck. I felt it was only appropriate since I used the Goddesses and Sirens deck yesterday in the reading for the collective. So I'm using the Gods and Titans for this. The card that showed up at the very beginning was War, Aries. And some things are worth fighting for. And some things, it's just like, what's the point? If it isn't going to accomplish anything, what's the point? Yeah, you could get it off your chest and so on and so forth. But it's sort of like, that's actually what I asked somebody recently who I was back in contact with after a while of not being in contact with them. I was like, what's the end game here? What are we looking to do here with this connection? So, and that's what you have to ask yourself. What is the end game? If I decide to get engaged in, you know, an argument with someone, or if I decide to speak up. And I'm not saying don't speak up for yourself. Definitely, if you feel like you're being bullied, or if someone is being overly critical, or it's just doing the most, and you feel like you need to speak up, you have free will, you can do that. At the same time, you can also walk away from the situation or detach yourself from the situation. So yeah, just keep that in mind because War did come up. Also, you may find yourself being critical right now of people, and that may strain relationships because you're being critical. So, I mean, it's a two-way street. So yeah, just keep those things in mind during this period. And another thing that was coming to me during the pre-shuffle is that you don't have anything to prove. Some of you may feel like you have to prove something to someone, or maybe you may feel like you have to prove it to yourself. You don't. It's just run your race. Do that. Let everything play out as it should. Of course, you do your part. You don't have to be, not stagnant. There's another word I was looking for. Still. Okay, another S. You don't have to be still, as in like you're waiting for things to happen. No, you can continue doing what you're doing even during Mercury retrograde. It's just there isn't anything to prove during the process. There isn't. All right, let's hop into this. May I have the energy for the collective for Monday, September the 12th? May I have the energy for the collective for Monday, September the 12th. May I have the energy for the collective for Monday, September the 12th. What is it that the collective needs to hear? What is it that the collective needs to hear? What is it that the collective needs to hear? May I have some cards, please? Thank you. Here comes Shiva. Okay. This is the same card in Maui. Okay. Talk about repeats. May I have one more card, please? Whoa, okay, not that many. Hold on. May I have one more card, please? There must be, that's the one I'm taking. It came out but then went back, but I'm taking it. And it's another repeat. And then at the bottom of the deck, Ganesha. Okay, so some of you may be dealing with obstacles at this time. Again, I feel like some people may feel they're under a magnifying glass. I'm going back to the critical thing. You may be a perfectionist, or someone may be a perfectionist around you that you interact with, and they're looking for perfection. And again, also I feel like some of you are looking for perfection. Going back to the thing, you don't have anything you have to prove. Some of you may be looking for perfection because you're looking to prove something. There isn't anything that needs to be proven. And if someone is being overly critical of you because they're looking for perfection, that's more of a them problem. That's not really your problem. But there may be obstacles around you because of things like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, but there may be obstacles around you. Now, one thing that I like is that Shiva, which is the destroyer, came out. And this card has come out before. And with this card, the destroyer, this is sort of like the tower. It's sort of like a proactive tower, if that makes sense, instead of a reactive tower, where usually the tower is a surprise in the tarot deck. With this oracle card, Shiva the Destroyer, in the tower, things fall apart because it wasn't on a stable foundation. With Shiva, Shiva is saying, okay, I'm doing an audit. This doesn't make sense to me. Why is this part of the picture? You know what? We're going to just go ahead and tear it out. That is Shiva. So, and I feel for some of you, you are taking a proactive approach and being like, you know what? I'm looking at some of these things and it needs to go. The destroyer. That's the energy there. But it's a good thing. Again, you're being proactive where you're noticing stuff isn't serving you. So you're making the choice to make this tower happen. You're making the choice to tear down the tower. So that's what this energy is. Now, I just heard that for some of you, that relationship I was talking about where someone may have been overly critical of you, or where someone keeps pushing your buttons, if it's been a long-term thing, you're going to go into this energy and you're just going to tear it down. You're going to tear the relationship. Be like, I don't need this type of relationship in my life. And by relationship, I'm not necessarily talking about love. I'm just talking about in general. So it's like, I don't need this type of relationship in my life. I don't need this type of baggage and scrutiny or whatever. Life is too short. Okay, so you're just going to tear down the tower and walk away. So yeah. Second card that came out is Maui, which is discovery. So of course, you will be looking for new things. Going back to Shiva, the destroyer, where you're like, you know what? I'm getting rid of this and I'll find something better. Whatever that something is, you know better than me. As I always say, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. I didn't do my whole spiel at the beginning, which I caught that when I was shuffling, but I was just like, you know what? So yeah, but with Maui and Discovery, I feel that some of you will be looking for, setting out for new horizons, looking for new experiences, embracing. I had the word on the tip of my tongue. Oh my goodness. I just had the word on the tip of my tongue. What's the word, please? Or can I have a substitute? I added on. Not creative. That's not the word. Okay, thank you. Nurturing. Thank you. Nurturing relationships. That's as in embracing that. Where you may have had relationships that you dealt with, friends, family, lovers, whatever, where it wasn't nurturing. Again, going back to the perfection. I feel like for some of you, there may have been a person trying to turn you into something that you're not. Or a person who was criticizing you because they couldn't face the flaws within themselves. So they felt, oh, well, I need to bring up the so-called quote-unquote flaws in this person. But as you have decided to destroy the tower, you're like, no, I'm moving away from this. I'm looking for new things. I'm discovering new things. I'm discovering the beauty in life is what I'm doing. All right. And then the final card is Jizzo. Or should I say Jizo. With this particular card, it's about support. And I'm going back to nurturing relationships. This card here is finding your support, or either being able to support others. And I just heard supporting those who are worthy of your support. Supporting those who are worthy of your support. Where, you know, sometimes we allocate bandwidth to people who aren't necessarily appreciative of what we offer. And in some cases, they take it for granted. I feel for some of you, you were taken for granted. Hence, why you went into Shiva mode, or you're going into Shiva mode. I really feel, and I'm hearing this now, I feel that this Mercury retrograde is sort of bringing it to light. Like, wait a second, why am I dealing with this? So, yeah, and you're destroying it because you may have offered support to someone, but they didn't appreciate it or they took it for granted. And also, now I'm hearing this. The person or maybe people you offered support to, because they took up your bandwidth and they weren't appreciating it or they took you for granted, there were people around you who you weren't able to offer support to because your bandwidth was going to the people who didn't deserve it. And now, if you went into destroyer mode and decided to cut those people out of your life, you're going to have the bandwidth to support those people, or vice versa. If you dealing with these, I don't want to say toxic, but in some cases they were toxic, but you dealing with those relationships that were not serving you, was blocking the energy of those who may want it to come in and support you too. But now that all of this is passing over, now that you're making the choice to destroy those obstacles, now you can go ahead and find a community that will support you and you will support them, and everyone is appreciative of it and no one is taking anyone for granted. So that is what I have for you for today. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Until next time, be blessed.